So with middle age hurtling on toward me like an out of control freight train, I've been doing a lot of retrospective. I've been doing a lot of looking back on my youthful days, and it's a weird sort of thing because when I look back on a lot of high school, it comes packaged with a certain nostalgia, but in another way not. I think some people, look back on their more youthful body. I'm actually in quite dramatically better shape now as I approach 40 than I was at like 16 or 17 or 18. And certain ways things are better, but in other ways there's these things about the carefreeness that you miss. The lack of having to pay bills anyway. But I did want to reflect on the ultimate kind of end of high school cope. And this is at this point me reflecting back on stuff happening pretty damn close to 20 years ago. I graduated high school in May of 2004, I believe. Spider-Man 2 was the newest movie in theaters. So the GameCube, we were on the cusp between the GameCube and the Wii was not out yet. We had a little GameCube. We had a little Tales of Symphonia, Metroid Prime 2 going on around that time. But yeah, I remember I had like these weird delusions or fantasies kind of going on as I approached the final months of high school. I got into a college I wanted to, and I totally zoned out basically in school. I stopped giving a shit. I think my grades declined, but I'd already gotten into early admissions for college, so I didn't really care at that point. But yeah, so I was pretty zoned out, and I had these fantasies in my head that somehow when I went to college, I was going to finally meet my people. That none of the social dynamics that made me kind of a lower, mid, not quite bottom tier, but definitely lower tier on the social rungs in high school. That suddenly, magically, none of those things were going to apply in college. Suddenly, I don't know if I necessarily thought I was going to become an alpha, going to become the head of a pack, going to become the belle of the ball, the life of the party. I don't know that I had necessarily that level of delusion, but I, had the ideas of like, late night conversations with my peers, just and like really just connecting with people on a level I never had, and as a younger man, as a teenager in high school, and I definitely gotta tell anyone now who might be making that high school to college transition right about now. I guess it's August, so yeah, not really. Pretty much all the same social dynamics that kind of apply in high school, more or less apply in college in slightly different ways. Really high school, I think things kind of solidify more or less where they're going to be. Junior high is this is what a lot of movies get wrong. I think that like a lot of high school movies and stuff will depict the the big macho, the most popular kid in high school is also the macho bully. He wants to beat the shit out of everyone. My all-time favorite is the Karate Kid, so I give it the I let it slide there. That's the little martial arts fantasy. It's not supposed to be a realistic depiction of high school, but a ton of other movies basically do the high school bully dynamic. I never really found that to be the case particularly. It was junior high was the time for bullying because particularly boys have these hormones really bubbling up at that point. I mean, the testosterone is just going hog wild when boys are turning 12, 13, 14. It's going nuts. It's bubbling up inside. It's a cauldron. It's out of control. And they can't really put that into where nature and evolution meant where that is meant for that to be put toward is girls pursuing girls. I mean, there might be the occasional uber Chad, like 12-year-old who has a girlfriend, but not in any widespread way. By the time you hit high school, by the time you hit, sophomore, junior, certainly senior year of high school, by the time kids are 16, 17, then, if some Chad can spend his time either trying to pick on or bully the meek little nerd or trying to fuck a girl, 99.9% of them are going to use that energy to try to fuck girls. They couldn't give a shit. Not that I was bullied in any sort of a physical way. That never really happened. I was never small particularly, or I mean, I'm not tall by any means. I'm like 5'9", so, but I was never that kind of scrawny type nerd. I had a certain level of physical. I mean, I was chubby by the end of high school because I drank way too much soda. And I ate bagels for some reason every day. It's like a weird thing for a high school boy to be addicted to his bagels. You don't really think of that as a thing. And we did order pizza all the time while playing, Smash Bros and Mario Tennis, but Smash Bros Melee, I should say. That Melee really kind of overtook the N64 original very quickly. But yeah, for some reason I ate a ton of bagels in high school. I don't know what that was about. We'd buy a 6-pack of bagels and it would be gone in like 3 or 4 days because I loved bagels and cream cheese. I still like it, but I never really think to buy it. But if it's like free somewhere, I'm like in an event where there's like a bagel with cream cheese, I'll pick it up. But yeah, that was definitely a ridiculous cope, thinking that suddenly I was going to just really connect with people when I went to college, because that wasn't really the case. I mean, it's not like I had no social interaction, but it was not really that meaningfully different than high school. I still anytime I had to speak, in front of a class, in front of a crowd, anytime the attention of basically like more than maybe 2 people was on me in a room, whether that was in an academic setting or in someone's dorm or apartment, a social setting, I would still freeze up, sweat. I still to this day, sweat springs up on my brow whenever I have a little too much attention on me. I really struggle with that. Always have. I think it's probably fair to say at this point I always will, but yeah, certainly that didn't change in college. The charismatic and confident and cool were still the same ones who were in high school. Particularly embarrassing part of this delusion was that I thought that, when I went to where I was in Texas, when I went, grew up through high school to when I went to, the city, that my political beliefs were going to make me cool. The fact that I really had it in for Bush and Cheney. Of course, I'm not sure if you're allowed to have it in for Cheney anymore from an entirely different point of view. And the fact that I've been consistent on that one for 20 years is probably more controversial than anything else these days. But yeah, for some reason I thought that people would be like, oh my God, this guy, he doesn't like Bush and Cheney and the Iraq War and the Patriot Act. He blow jobs for him, right? And no one was interested at all. I wonder if maybe I was just before my time in that respect. I wonder if maybe 20 years later that actually would facilitate the getting of pussy. But, in 2005, no, certainly made zero difference. Even in the super liberal city I was living in, if a guy wearing a Bush Cheney 2004 t-shirt who had a really well cut, really rugged chin and bigger muscles would certainly get he'd definitely he'd mog me no problem. Yeah, but even it goes beyond even getting girls, how socially awkward I was. I remember my college had like some kind of little ad in like the college newspaper or something for like a video game club, right? And I was like, oh, these are my people. These are my fucking people. I'm gonna play some fucking Smash Bros. Maybe there's some Mario Kart going on. I could even do a little Halo or Call of Duty. I wouldn't win, but maybe be a fun thing. And I went to like where the video game club was. I think it was in like the campus library. And I remember peeking in. It's just a bunch of like male nerds, people nerdier than I am. Your classic like movie nerds practically. And even then I was like, oh, they look like they're already friends. So, oh, this is so, I'm not confident enough to do this. So then literally the room of video game playing like dorkwad nerds, I was too shy to enter even that. That's the extent of how awkward I was and how like just paralyzingly, cripplingly uncomfortable in any social situation. Doesn't have to involve a hot chick. Doesn't have to involve any kind of chick. It can just involve like male nerds who share like my rough kind of a coolness level and hobbies and interests. And I still just like blanch up in like social terror. So I don't know why it was so funny. I thought that like turning from age 18 to age 19 and like moving 1,000 miles would suddenly just totally change that. It would be a total transformation. So that was a ridiculous fantasy. That was a cope. No such thing happened. And yeah, no, not at all. I did eventually get laid in college. I did not get laid ever in high school. I did in college, but I don't think it had anything to do with inner confidence. I think it just had simply to do with the fact that, like I mentioned, I had become quite chubby throughout high school. I think at least up through junior high, I don't think I was ever putting on any weight. But yeah, I think that by the time I finished 8th grade, I don't think I was chubby at all. I had no real consciousness of that. I just never thought about that or like hairstyles or clothes or anything all through junior high and high school. But then high school, I don't know, I started drinking like 20 Dr. Peppers a week, and like I mentioned, eating a lot of bagel and pizzas. Sweets were never really a problem. it wasn't like candy or ice cream. That never really played much of a role. It was more like the carby stuff, the bagels and pizza. Well, I guess Dr. Pepper is a sweet in a sense, is a carbonated beverage and carbonated poison basically. So yeah, then the weight started packing on. So yeah, I, like clocked in 190 something when I finished high school. So pretty chubby lad. Then I went to college, and then it was a combination of being kind of somewhat persistently broke. So I would not eat healthy food by any means. I would still get pizza. But when I say I get pizza, I mean I would get not a pizza, but a slice of pizza, like at the end of a day. And also, I did not have a car at any point in college. I think I went like literally 3 years without ever putting my foot to the to the gas pedal of a car for a few years actually there. And I would walk through the city 8 miles a day, 9, 11, 12 miles a day, not like on occasional days, like 7 days a week. I would put in 8, 10, 12 miles of walking consistently. Never went in a gym, never lifted a weight, never did a sit up, never went jogging in the morning or the evening or anything like that. It was just the walking around the city and not buying a shitload of food, really. Like a lot of times, like my breakfast would be an apple, and then my dinner would be a slice of pizza, and that would be what I ate for the day, right? So the weight came off pretty quickly. So I was, I know when I graduated, I was all the way down somewhere in the 130s, might have even been the upper 120s. Getting towards kind of skeletally thin almost, but pretty quickly the weight dropped to a healthy level, and then I did get laid eventually. So I don't think it had anything whatsoever to do with confidence or social skills or coolness. It was just purely physical. It was the shallowest sort of thing possible. It was just because I dropped a bunch of weight. Then suddenly, bam! Imagine that makes a difference. Now, granted, even though I did get laid eventually, the first time I ever tried to was also the first time in my life I had ever put a condom on my dick. Literally ever, right before I was going to use it. So I think basically what happened at that time was my dick deflated like a balloon that just been popped with a thumbtack. Just full retreat. Nope. Just said nope. This ain't gonna happen this time. So somewhat unfortunate, but that might be a story for another day. That's getting into a whole different topic. Getting into a whole different topics. Just kind of stream of consciousness rambling at this point. But yeah, I guess just what I wanted to reflect on was the coping at the end of high school by telling if you think your whole personality is going to change, the world is not going to do that to you. Nothing about changing your location or just the surface level dynamics of your circumstances is suddenly going to make you a different person, whether that's going to college or after college, or I don't know if you want to go straight from high school to the workforce, which I think that's a legitimate option these days. If you want to have a new personality, you're going to have to go out of your way and make it an uncomfortable situation to force yourself to have a new personality. Because I had these delusions that the world was going to give me a new personality as if by magic, and not a real thing. Not a real thing. That's the cope. That's the cope. And reflecting back on it, like I said, getting towards 20 years later, that was not a thing. Not one bit.